As economic reforms appear to be underway in North Korea, we ask, is the new leadership prepared to follow through with them? Is North Korea shifting from its military-first approach to a new emphasis on the economy? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Shakuntala Santharan. A rare session of North Korea's parliament ended on Tuesday with no mention of rumoured economic reforms. Stories have been circulating for months. The changes are reportedly being pushed by the new leader Kim Jong-un. The second session of the Supreme People's Assembly, which usually meets only once a year, has fueled speculation about drastic reforms to come under Kim. He's made several public statements on the need to improve living standards, and there have been signs of policy changes, including incentives for workers and farmers to boost productivity. But at the close of the meeting, state media reported only a decision by the Assembly to add one extra year to compulsory schooling in the reclusive state, as well as a minor reshuffle in the Parliament's Standing Committee. Kim Jong-un took power in December following the death of his father, Kim Jong-il. The new leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is believed to be in his late 20s. He's been named the great successor and North Korea's new supreme leader. In July, North Korea named a new military chief, Hyun Yong-chol. That happened a day after his predecessor, Ri Yong-ho, was removed from all his posts. The state-run news agency said Ri was relieved of his duties because of illness, without giving further details. Days later, Kim Jong-un was appointed Marshal of the Republic. That's the highest military rank. So is RealChange underway in North Korea, and is Kim Jong-un the man leading the way? To answer these questions, we're joined by our guest in Hong Kong, Andrew Leong, an economist and political commentator. In Washington, Doug Bando, a senior fellow at the Cato Institute specializing in foreign policy. And in Brussels, Glyn Ford, a former member of the European Parliament. Mr. Ford is the author of a book called North Korea on the Brink: Struggle for Survival. Welcome to you all. Glyn, if I could start with you, this second annual session of the North Korean Parliament is highly unusual, isn't it? There's been speculation for months that North Korea might introduce economic reforms, but only some education reforms were announced on Tuesday. Are economic reforms of the farming sector really taking place, from what you're hearing?
Well, I mean, reform of the farming sector started in 2002 with the agricultural reforms under Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, and they were rather successful in terms of limiting the targets in the from farmers and allowing them to sell the surplus on the new emerging markets. It looks like more of the same, and frankly, they don't need the Supreme People's Assembly to authorise that. It's not the decision-making body in question. The problem is that it's not agriculture that's the real crunch issue for North Korea. It's industry, and the industrial reforms back in the same period, a decade ago, really didn't work, because taking people off the plan, allowing them to choose product and process, allowing them to hire and fire, doesn't work if you don't have electricity, reliable electricity, and you don't have the raw materials. So I think the agricultural reforms are an incremental change on what's already been happening and are likely to be successful. The key issue is going to be industry.
Andrew, do you think Kim Jong-un is serious about reform?
Well, I think that this time it is much more serious than before, in the sense that once he was installed in power, he quickly removed a hardliner from the military, and of course this is very unusual for the Parliament to meet the second time in a year, suggesting that there is something more serious to be done. But I think the most important thing is that the past formula of repression and also relying on the nuclear threat and no longer proved to work. And a lot of people are dying of hunger. And also North Korea has been relying on China's largesse. And of course, frankly, I mean, Beijing is quite annoyed with North Korea in the sense that Beijing doesn't want a nuclear proliferation along its borders, because they were set in train a whole chain reaction of nuclear armament, including Japan, for example. So I think that China, as much as the West has been pressing North Korea to change its direction, and I think if you look at countries, for example, in the past, like Vietnam, for example, Vietnam used to be a huge problem, but it changes its system towards a market economy, not because Vietnam was invaded by America, but because of the necessity. So here we are seeing North Korea is trying to learn from the Chinese formula, starting with agricultural reform first. Don't forget that when China opened up, it was through the agricultural responsibility system that led in later industrial reform. And of course, this kind of change does not happen very quickly.